How's it going, everyone, and welcome to another episode of No Excuses on VGWProductions.com and YouTube.com with your favorite show hosts, Aristotle.
Venerian.
And Volasound, we're here to bring you the latest news and commentary on the video games industry for the week. But first of all, if you'd like to get involved with the show, you can do so by sending us email at noexcusesvtw@gmail.com, or you can follow us on the Twitter at noexcusesvtw, or you can join us in Discord, and you can get to our Discord server by clicking on the link provided in the description underneath the show archive on YouTube. And somebody really needs to collect some of this cobblestone from my chest because I don't have any room left.
Yeah. Oh, hey, there's a shipwreck right off the coast. I didn't even notice that, and it's full of metal. Also, emeralds. I'm going to take those. So,
I've
as
got
you
like
can
a
tell on the stream
300
today,
redstone too.
yeah. So I'm just going to steal all of that. So on the stream today, we're going to continue with our adventures in Minecraft shenanigans. Ari, during the week, has built that.
You like it?
A gigantic, glorious phallic symbol.
Yeah, it's definitely a shape.
It wasn't really intended to be that at first. It
just
became that in my head when somebody A pointed it out and B, I was mad in the middle of the week.
Yeah, and you have ruined my farm again.
I didn't mean to.
So yeah, this week I unfortunately haven't had a whole lot of time to join in on anything. So I'm going to come back to discover exactly what on earth has been happening.
Black pills.
Yeah.
Winnie the Pooh. Rhymes with piglet.
Oh boy. So that's going to be one of those shows, is it?
Aristotle is in a dark place right now.
Yeah. I'm just going to throw all of this netherrack in the lake and the gravel. Get lost. You're useless.
I'm fishing in our trough.
Okay. So, I guess we'll just dive face first into it and start with weeks. And unfortunately, my week involved, an 8-hour drive for one day in another town, and then back again almost immediately. Yeah.
Sounds fun.
It's all the pre-Christmas, I can't words, errand stuff that needs to be done. So, ended up ducking over to Townsville, visiting some family and doing all the shopping and whatnot that needed to be done. So as such, I haven't really had a whole lot of time to do much this week. There wasn't even any good nerdery that came out of that trip.
I see. That's unfortunate.
It is. It certainly is. I did get to play a few hours of Greedfall, though, and played through the prologue chapter, which I enjoyed so far. However, I am going to restart the game, because I started with the male character who... Because, I tend to go male characters because I tend to like the costumes better. Chainmail bikinis are incredibly silly, after all. But,
This is what we call bad taste, Fern. I almost said it.
You did. But, the male voice actor annoys me no end. He's not anyone established. He's done both he and the female one did a bunch of TV roles a few years back by the look of it. But nothing special. But the male voice actor honestly sounds like he's always accusing people of something, even if he's just asking a polite question. It's like...
He's like super passive aggressive.
Yeah, it's like the direction must have been, your character is an upper crust snob. Therefore, we are going to insert this broom handle firmly in your rectum.
Oh my.
Well, do you know where the lair of the Skeleton King is?
Do you? But as I re-rolled briefly just to see what the female voice actor is like, and she actually has emotions, so... Yeah, I'm going to start again.
That's sexist and stereotypical for Nurian?
What? No, I'm not even going to entertain that, no. So, superior voice actor is superior. I will go with that. Now, unfortunately, the prologue chapter is a bit boring. Like, you're wandering around the original city, and it's dirty, and it's just mazy and it's full of plague because everyone's got plague.
This is sounding like Altdorf.
No.
Altdorf was a cool city. It's a pity there's nothing in it except plague.
Yeah, it's just full of plague. That was it. Just nothing but plague.
But man, those Age of Reckoning capitals were amazing.
Huge, empty, but incredible. Yeah. Oh, here we are. Have I finally reached my destination here? Kind of.
You still building that hole in the nether?
Yeah, I've got a pigman who's crammed himself into my stairway again.
Oh my.
I don't know what they've done, but zombie pigmen seem to flow uphill and immediately into whatever space you're trying to mine. Every time. And they're not zombie pigmen anymore for reasons. Is it
It's
because
like zombie piglins.
they're piglins now? Yeah. Is it because they have an ear now? Where'd he go? Oh, there he is. He fell down a hole. Okay, good.
That was because it wasn't inclusive enough because they were all men.
Ah.
That probably was the justification.
It better not be.
It was
'Cause that's retarded.
probably.
But that's retarded.
Yes. So, where was I? Gridfall. It's a very pretty looking game, except until the characters start talking. I don't know what they've done, but they always seem to open their mouths just that little bit too wide, and it's really off-putting.
I thought you were going to say they're just annoying.
Well, also that. Like, the bulk of the characters that I've run into so far tend to be upper-class snobs, and they're certainly that irritating. Combat's very, kind of a bit Assassin's Creed-y, a little bit more involved than that. Although gunplay doesn't seem to really be a viable gameplay strategy all on its own. It's more of a secondary weapon, despite what the skill trees will have you believe.
I see.
Well, so you could, blindly just spec full into guns and then realize that actually you're going to be swinging a sword anyway most of the time.
Yeah, because you can't defend with guns, and while you're shooting, you tend to be a sitting duck.
I just fished a fishing rod out of the water.
How awfully meta of you.
That's convenience itself, if you ask me.
Yes, it is.
Yes, now I have a full health fishing rod.
So yeah, I'm going to keep going with it because I have actually been enjoying my my time with it, despite my whinging, because I always whinge about games. But yeah, it looks like the game, once you get through the prologue chapter, it opens up. Although my quick foray into chapter 1 so far is, okay, we're out of the crappy city. Now we're in a new city, which looks very similar. It's just clean.
I see.
So, yeah. And hopefully changing to a more impressive, well, not impressive, but more competent voice actor will make me not hate the protagonist nearly as much. As for other stuff I did this week, not a whole lot. Just stretching here. As far as anime goes, I just decided, for reasons, I'm going to sit down and rewatch Kimono Michi.
I was tempted to do that the other day.
Yeah, it's just as silly the second time around. It's like Konosuba. It's just one of those anime you can just keep going back to and watch it over again and still get a good laugh out of it every time.
I think it's significantly more disturbing in various ways than Konosuba is.
Considering there's large parts of certain episodes where the main protagonist wanders around wearing nothing but leather underpants.
That's one of the things, yes.
The emotional trauma of that poor wolf man.
I think the thing which makes Konosuba entertaining, though, is not the ridiculousness of the fantasy setting. It's the normalcy of the characters within the fantasy setting. Mm-hmm. Kimono Michi is just ridiculous from top to bottom.
Yeah, it's just silly all the way through.
What makes Konosuba funny is how like conventionally lowbrow Kazuma is.
Yes, he is.
Kimono Michi, it's got an awful lot of I guess you would call it the main character hitting on his neighbor.
From her point of view, he is.
Yeah.
From him, not so much. Yeah, Genzo is just very, very strange and has a one-track mind. And that is, fluffy thing must touch fluffy thing. So he's running around and he's building his menagerie of what most people would consider to be horrible monsters. Huh. What have I done here? I seem to have made a terrible mistake.
I always feel very bad for the wolf girl, Shigure.
Shigure,
Like-
yeah.
It's true that she is maximum grift, but she's also she's also very soft-hearted, and as a result, I feel like for somebody who is such a relentless grifter, gets taken advantage of disproportionately often.
Yeah. And, okay, sometimes she brings it on herself, but usually, no, she's just caught up in whatever nonsense is going on around her. But, yeah. So, it's still a good time. I did kind of actually forget just how much I enjoyed the sheer depth of emotional trauma is laid on that poor wolf man.
Well, nothing strictly bad ever happens to him.
To a point. I mean, he does get thrown through a couple of walls at one point.
Yeah, but it's not like he didn't deserve it.
He also got, on his very first encountering with Genzo, he got, at least from his perspective, horribly fondled. So, yeah. I mean, he's kind of a jerk, but still, I don't think he deserves a lot of what happens to him. Anything else for this week? No. Unfortunately, I've just had absolutely zero time to deal with anything this week. Having the temperature around here being ridiculously hot leaves no time for everything, because work tends to eat all my time.
This was supposed to stop happening, Fern. That
It
was
was
why you
supposed to.
employed somebody.
It didn't work. So other things bobbed to the surface. Make it stop, please. So I'm going to leave
even
it
though I
there.
know it in my head, when you say it's hot down there in the middle of December, it still
just
doesn't process right.
it does not compute.
Yeah, like, I know that you're in the Southern Hemisphere. I know the seasons are backwards, but you say hot and it's December, and I'm just like, really?
He's in
He's telling-
Australia and they eat seafood for Christmas dinner.
Also, yes.
You have Santa Clauses that ride on surfboards, if Digimon's to be believed.
Oh, right, that was a thing, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they went to Straya during the Christmas time.
I love it. So, yeah, we've been dealing with what the media insists on calling a heat wave, and I'll give them a little bit of credit.
I think they're just like using the word.
Oh, they're using the word unprecedented again.
Yeah, you notice how
Unprecedented since last summer.
Yeah, exactly. Unprecedented since last time.
they seem to use that word all the time to scaremonger.
Yeah. Unprecedented? Totally precedented. Shut up. So, yeah. We've been hitting, whoops, probably 45, 46 regularly here the last week. At Celsius for everyone in Merkland. Oh yeah, I've made a terrible mistake.
I'm
That
exceptionally glad that I do not live in Australia because I would die.
that's
Like
high
that?
90s.
Stop burning to death.
I mean, that's appropriate, isn't it?
That's high 90s to low 100s, America folks.
Yeah. So it is stinking hot.
It sounds like a perfectly comfortable temperature.
Right, so I'm going to leave my week at that. And presumably get my stuff back. Hopefully not all of it's died in fire. Yeah, here it is. Also, playing without sound. Oh, that's bad.
That's not high 90s. That's 115.
Yeah,
Is it?
yeah.
That sounds like slightly warm would not wear jacket.
Uh-huh. So yeah, Vol, your week, sir, please.
My week was absolutely brutal. One of our former clients, who is no longer a client because somebody screwed something up a while back, they had a process failure of sorts. It seems they had a listeria contamination,
Whoops.
and their lab that they normally go to now, since they ditched us, was unable to handle the capacity of tests that they needed to do to find out what the hey. But
Okay.
so we got given the work, and at first blush that seems like a good thing. It gives us a chance to rebuild our reputation with them. But I don't think they were entirely honest at the outset with regarding precisely how much they were planning to send us. And so for several days straight, we had multiple pallets of samples show up.
Pallets.
Oh
dear.
And so it was just all hands on deck, and it got worse as the week went on. Not necessarily because the number of samples went up, but the number of people that were washing out from exhaustion.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was fewer and fewer staff making the work harder and harder as time went on. So yeah, it was a tough week. I was not completely insulated from it due to my seniority, because I ended up having to do sort of the back end processing. I didn't have to do much of the sample handling type stuff, because that's more that sort of, it's not to say that it's a sort of a lower job, but so much as it's something that most of the new people end up in the processing stage first, and as it makes its way through the process, the more sort of the ones that require more sort of close analysis jobs that I end up doing. But I ended up having to do an awful lot of PCR, and so I was pretty exhausted by that as well. Didn't have much ambition to do much of anything by the time the day ended, other than just go to bed. So it was a long and pretty rough week. The only real thing I did in gaming this week was that I finished Lost Belt 3 in FGO. So I can't really make up my mind what I think about it, because I feel like it's sort of contextually contaminated. I feel like the story just doesn't... there's no arrangement. Like, no matter how I rearrange the first three chapters, there's no arrangement that I think works in my head for them narratively.
Mm-hmm.
The issue, I think, it seems like, because this one, the latest Lost Belt 3 was written by the Ura Butcher, and it seems like there must have been some lacking communication when the first few Lost Belts were being written out by their respective writers, because I feel like in certain ways the second and third Lost Belt themes sort of tread on each other's toes quite a bit.
Okay.
The differences between them thematically are sufficiently subtle that while there are key differences between the way the stories are framed, but the differences are sufficiently subtle that the impact is lessened. Because the contrast is not very strong between the two. So Lost Belt 2 depicts a humanity, a history for humanity that was pruned away by the pruning theoretical phenomenon due to the offense of stagnancy. Whereas in the case of, say, Lost Belt 1, it was pruned away due to humanity having, number one, left the path of humanity, and number two, basically the world was so hostile to their existence that they were going to peter out of existence anyway. It was like survival of the fittest, and the fittest are surviving, but only barely, and eventually they're all going to die. So, but in the case of Lost Belt 2, you have a scenario where humanity's existence is being maintained by the goddess Skadi, who's the last one left after Ragnarok, and she's just trying to preserve humanity by keeping them penned up in villages, more or less. And the world outside is hostile, and as soon as they reach the age of, I can't remember, 25 or something,
Yeah, early 20s.
they're sent out as a sacrifice to the giants, and they just die. And that's so humanity is kept down to a very, very small number, and it's stagnating that way because the population never grows. Nobody ever reaches any sort of emotional maturity or anything like that. It's a stagnant world being sort of held in place by the incredibly smothering love of a goddess who doesn't really understand humans. Now, Lost Belt 3, this is spoilers, I suppose. So, I don't know, Ari, are you worried about spoilers? Because I could probably prune it back.
You can leave out the major in-story beats, but you can go general themes all the way if you want.
Right, okay. So basically, the reason that I think this Lost Belt suffers is because it overlaps too much with Skadi. So this is set in China, and the easiest way to sum it up is basically this is like if the did you just burn to death again?
Yeah, I found a ghast.
The basically this is the setting is that the emperor of the Qi dynasty, the first emperor of China, was successful in finding a method of becoming immortal, and acquired sufficient arts during the course of his life to make him the supreme ruler of all China and keep China completely unified, and from there went out and conquered the entire rest of the world. And basically the way it ends up going is basically Maoist China on steroids. This is what China would become given infinite power in a long enough span of time, and the presumption of an overwhelmingly arrogant but also overwhelmingly powerful and thinks of himself as benevolent boss. So the thing with the first emperor is that he's very much like Skadi in that he believes that what he's doing is for the good of his people, and he doesn't actually have any selfish aims. In a sense, he's perfectly selfish, but in the sense that everything is arranged around him. But he also sees himself as the only fully fledged human who is bearing basically the burden of all of humanity. And so he's got this society where everything is directed to his benefit. Any kind of learning or knowledge is suppressed, because the more people know, the more people are able to communicate, the more conflict there is. And he's basically reduced humanity to a point where they are kept basically fat and happy, sort of thing. Like the villages outside the capital, and it's implied that it's like this all over the world post-conquest. The only things that they do is that they eat, they sleep, they reproduce, and they till the fields. Except the fields are, super advanced genetically engineered grain that practically raises itself till harvest. So that there's no real work need be done other than the token amount to maintain the fields. So nobody ever really needs to do anything. And at festival times, the emperor will launch basically rockets into the villages, which carry a payload of what the villagers call the benefaction, which is a drug that basically has psychotropic properties and basically makes them super happy, like a combination of cocaine and alcohol sort of thing. And it also keeps them perfectly healthy. It reinforces their immune systems to the point where they can never get sick. However, when they reach their lifespan hits a certain age, it will just make them go to sleep forever. They'll just die. They'll go to sleep and die. And it's planned that way so that there's never any infirm people due to age. There's never anybody who's ever sick. Nobody needs to worry about anything. The government provides everything, including absolute direction in people's lives, what they're supposed to do with their time and everything. Nobody ever has to worry about anything except sit around and do whatever. Anybody who's got talent in the arts or whatever is brought to the capital, where they spend their entire lives making artworks in praise of the emperor's glory.
Blah.
And so on and so forth. And that gives that gives everybody purpose to their lives, and don't know anything different because they're not permitted to know anything different. And any village that becomes contaminated by what the emperor refers to as Confucianism, because that's the philosophy that he associates with wanting excessively to know things, gets colony dropped out of existence. Because technology has significantly advanced under this completely despotic rule of one man who is, he's basically plugged himself into a computer and made himself a super genius. Because he's not only was he incredibly powerful, incredibly clever, and immortal, but he was able to, add additional processing capacity by transplanting himself into a machine. And so he basically knows everything, can see everything. He's built the true Great Wall of China, which orbits around the Earth, basically. And therefore he can see everything at all times that's going on everywhere in his domain from above, and colony drop out of existence people that he doesn't like. Which is not actually very many people, since everybody is pretty much enslaved to his way of thinking. Because there's no counter-narrative. There hasn't been for hundreds and hundreds of years. So it's much more complex in setup and detail than the example from the Lost Belt 2, but ultimately the outcome is the same. It's just, there's this humanity that never grows up. It never advances, never sees anything, never sees any need for any kind of ambition or anything like that. It's just very, very rudimentary civilization. And unfortunately it loses a lot of impact because of that, because we've just seen this in Lost Belt 2. It's pretty much the exact same scenario, except with finer grained detail, and it's realized much better in a lot of ways than Lost Belt 2 was. So it ends up feeling like, this is just the upgraded version of the one we've already done. The difference being, of course, the key difference here is that it's a human role who thinks of himself as the supreme human ruling over the entire planet, as opposed to a goddess who sees herself as a beneficent mother taking care of all her children. So there is a difference there. It's not quite the same scenario, but because they overlap, it deadens the impact of the story quite a bit. And there are some interesting ways that they play out the implications of the way the world's set up and the differences between them, which are, again, is another thing that's done better in Lost Belt 3 than Lost Belt 2. Like, for instance, one of the things that becomes a key plot point is the fact that if you aren't providing any technology to the masses, and all of it's being centralized into the capital city, the process of miniaturization and manufacturing never takes place. So right. Small things never get developed. So it becomes a plot point at one point that the idea that anybody would carry a personal communicator on them is just ridiculous. Because not only did they never invent the transistor, they're still using vacuum tubes as their highest level of technology. Just on such a massive, massive scale that it doesn't matter that they don't have microchips.
Right.
Because there's only one place in the world where they ever need exist, right? Which is the capital where the emperor rules. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't matter if the computer is gigantic because he's got all the space that he wants. But that has implications in that there's only ever one of anything.
Oh, so if you break the one radio tower, then things don't work anymore.
Well, you can't break the one radio tower because it orbits around the planet in space. It's enormous. It's the size of an equatorial belt. But
servers have broken more ridiculous things before, I bet.
But what it means is that the very concept of miniature technology has never occurred to the Emperor before. So the sort of communicators that people carry in our world, they're inconceivable to him. Like there's a point at which Jing Kei, who became a heroic spirit for her attempt to assassinate the first emperor in our history, gets to give the reason you suck speech to the first emperor by showing him her smartphone in a very isekai sort of twist. and that like you don't know what this is, do you? Just analyze it and see what it can do. And he brags that, oh well, that's incredible and all, but it's only got like 1/millionth of the capacity for computation that I do. And Jinkei's like, yeah, but there are 5 billion of them in our world.
Yeah.
And this sort of massive cultural gulf between the two worlds is really highlighted really strongly in a way that it really wasn't as well realized in the first two Lost Belts, where the first Lost Belt is basically survival of the fittest run wild, and the second Lost Belt is sort of like the infantilization of humanity into cattle. Whereas in this one, they really go through a lot of the deconstructive aspects of this world, which for it sounds dystopic the way that I've described it, because I think it's dystopic. But for instance, it's very hard to convince Spartacus in the story that it's a bad world, because he comes with he's one of the first servants on the scene to help Chaldea when taking on the Lost Belt, except that he sort of doesn't quite see why he should help, because the world is perfectly peaceful. Nobody has to struggle, and there's no visible oppression. Because, out in the sticks, nobody even knows what the Emperor looks like. They just know that, oh, he's the Emperor, he'll take care of everything, and they get to live peaceful lives without any... Other than the fact that the Emperor doesn't let anybody learn anything, and because they've never learned anything, none of the people know that they're not allowed to learn anything. None of them feel even slightly oppressed, because they've never wanted for anything. And nobody really tells them what to do, because they know by default, oh, what we do is we till the fields. So Spartacus doesn't understand. There's no war anywhere in this world. There's no conflict. People don't even know what a weapon is. They chase wild boar off with sticks. They don't have a concept of weaponry, because nobody fights anyone, and nobody has for hundreds of years. It's described explicitly that there's, like 1,500 years of bloody conflict in order to bring everything under the Emperor's thumb. But after the fact, they've had hundreds of years of perfect peace. No squabbling, but also no advancement of any kind. So I think that it would have been a really great Lost Belt by itself if it wasn't preceded by what feels like a prototype for its story.
Yep.
But yeah, so it does. It also, unfortunately, because it's written by the Ura Butcher, his relentlessly nihilistic worldview tends to bleed through every pore of it.
Yes.
So, yeah, that guy has issues, man. He needs to see a therapist. But that's the thing that's really characteristic to the Ura Butcher's work, is not just lots of characters die, because lots of characters don't really die in this one. It's more that the sheer level of nihilism. There's a bat in my caves. Go away, bat.
Bats are pointless.
Can they hurt me?
No.
Okay, so it's just gonna fly around.
Yeah, just fly around and make stupid noises.
Okay. But yeah, so it's the Ura Butcher's nihilism really shines through, because he doesn't the characters, Ura Butcher speaking through the characters in Chaldea, they don't describe our world as being much better, to be quite honest. There's an excessive focus on the failings of humanity in a lot of ways, and that really it's used to make the Emperor's point is that, yeah, you guys, you think of yourselves as being better, and you think of yourselves as having the right to be the humanity that continues, as opposed to our history. But look at all of the terrible things that happen in your world, and none of them happen in mine. My world is at perfect peace. But so yeah, everything comes down to that sort of ideological battle between stagnation and advancement, whether perfect peace but total stagnancy, or constant conflict but advancement is better.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I feel like the message is a little bit muddled in some ways, because the way that the Emperor plays out his, and this is going to be necessarily a bit political because it's about the governance of people, the Emperor's world sort of plays out exactly like the Maoist China, in that everything is controlled centrally, everybody worships the dear leader, and the entirety of society is organized in the name of the common good, where everybody is able to able to know exactly what they're supposed to do in life and has the freedom to never do any work. Communist utopia.
Mhm.
Everything is built around that idea. Communist utopia, except in this case, is an emperor at the top. And the weird thing, though, is that the counter narrative brought by Chaldea is one of constant progress, but that was also Maoist rhetoric, like the idea that oh well, it doesn't matter if this works, you need to carve it away in order to make way for a better future. The whole point is to always progress. You have to get rid of the old things because we need to move forward to the new, and so on and so forth. So I feel like both of the viewpoints that are displayed in the writing of this Lost Belt are ultimately just nihilistic ones, and I
Yep.
think that that's because the author has mental issues. But yeah, I've thought about the story quite a bit, and I haven't come to any sort of final conclusions on what I think about it and the themes presented. So I'll be very interested to see what Ari thinks when he finally goes through and sees it all play out.
Yeah.
But
I'll probably finish it
ultimately,
by the end of the month.
pardon?
I'll probably have it read by the end of the month.
Ultimately, I feel like all of the factions involved are suffering from sort of defective worldviews based on a lack of clear thinking and philosophy. I think that there's some incomplete thinking taking place, which is it sort of impedes the story from really being what it could be. And I know that's just ultimately that's just the product of the fact that it's pulp fiction writing. Ultimately, like all popular Japanese fiction it is pulp fiction writing. It's not designed to be a deep philosophical treatise, even if they try and sort of present it as such. That's not really the case.
Look over there. Look in the boat.
Oh.
But yeah, it's I did enjoy the story for what it was. What I didn't enjoy was a lot of the gameplay. It's the worst part was the final boss, and Ari got my one-sided tirade on this.
I saw it. I didn't respond to it.
The final boss was really, really, really poorly designed. Now, there have been some really fun fights throughout the history of FGO that have required like really creative uses of mechanics and team building and that in order to make them function correctly. To like challenges that are somewhat out of the norm, often thematically appropriate ways of reinterpreting the mechanics in a way that will make the fight more interesting. There's none of that in the final like climactic battle against the first Emperor in this Lost Belt. That is absolutely not the case. Basically, he's a humongous sack of hit points with a huge number. Well, he's not actually even. It does not even that he's got a lot of health, so much as he's got a very decent amount of health and a suite of abilities which, broadly speaking, slow down the game and make it harder to kill him simply by getting in the way. And his only offensive mechanic is that he just crits constantly.
That sounds really unfun.
When a boss crits constantly, the upshot of that is invariably that you basically just have to restart the fight over and over again, because half the time your party will just get crit out of existence in the first turn, and your game plan will turn to rubble, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's really unbelievably annoying.
So they don't give you the first turn or two you need to set up if they just get lucky crits and you wind up restarting.
Yeah, pretty much. It's not even lucky crits because his crit rate is so high, and it just gets higher as the battle goes on.
Mm-hmm.
By the later stages of the battle, every time he gets a chance to attack, you're going to lose at minimum one servant, possibly two or three. And also, you have very little flexibility in your CE choice as well, because his Noble Phantasm gives him invulnerability,
But of course it
Meaning-
does.
You need to have Pearson vulnerable, or you're basically just giving him free turns. And you can't afford to give him free turns, because by the time there's enough water under the bridge that he's using his Noble Phantasm, he's pretty much going to be critting so often that you can't afford to let him have more than the absolute minimum number of turns.
Ugh.
And boy, does he ever crit. It's just crit. Ideally, you would want a situation where you had a way of regularly setting up opportunities where you've got a taunt character who is invincible, so that you can just suck up as many crits as possible. So Mash is actually invaluable in this fight, even though she's in her crappy Autonax form, which is not as good as her Galahad form. But she still has the ability to taunt and the ability to become invulnerable. So she's absolutely crucial, in my opinion, to the way this operates. I mean, maybe there are team comps which use a lot of stuff like Georgios or Leonidas or something as taunters. I'm not really sure, but ultimately it is a situation where you feel like you're just rolling the dice, because on any given turn he could get lucky and you could just have all of your characters erased. He's a ruler, so the only time you've got class advantage is if you've got an Avenger. So this is basically Jean Alta's time to shine, because she can abbreviate the fight simply by raw power, which is pretty much what you need to do. I don't have her.
It's what she does.
My only Avenger that I really have that isn't, Angry
Angry Mango.
is Gorgon, and Gorgon's AoE. So her Noble Phantasm isn't that valuable. Unfortunately, by the time you get late in the fight, even though Avenger has class advantage, they will still be one shot.
Oof.
Because the crits are that big. So you can't count on any of that. Ultimately, I restarted the fight over and over and over again. There were so many times where by turn 2, I was already entirely on my back line. It was just unreasonable. I think that the fight was really, really sloppily designed, because it didn't feel like I was being challenged by the mechanics, just that I was being challenged by the RNG, and I was just restarting until such a time as I didn't completely get wrecked on the first go. Even if you set up with like supports and that to provide you with the buffs you need and whatnot, he's just going to wipe your support out before they can do anything.
Is there there's not a CE that blocks or reduces damage from crits or something, is there?
No, there's not.
There
are abilities that inflict crit down, but that would probably work early in the fight, but there aren't really any servants that are much useful beyond that. Like the main servant that I use for crit down most commonly is Kiyohime Lancer, but you won't bring a standard class against a ruler because they'll be doing no damage.
Yeah.
So also he's completely immune to mental debuffs. And I think when you break one of his break bars, he gains 5 full turns of complete debuff immunity.
Good gravy.
So you basically, he is a big slab of hit points that you can't interact with in any meaningful way and just crits you all the time. So I tried this over and over and over and over again, and eventually I just won on sheer fluke. That he missed a crit that I expected him to get. It was late in the fight. Late in the fight, he crits about 8 or 9 times out of 10.
Jeez.
And every one of those is a dead servant, pretty much. And he'd missed a crit. And I had one servant left, and it was Kiyohime, Berserker. And he missed a crit, so she survived with like 1,000 hit points. Because she's been grailed so many times, she's actually got a decent pool of hit points now. And somehow, he had 200,000... what the hell is that? There is a green box just bouncing around down here.
Oh, it's slime.
Is it going to kill me?
Maybe.
Can I damage it?
How big is it?
It's like about... It's slightly bigger than a standard block.
I think it still do damage at that size, so yeah.
Can I kill it with an edged weapon?
Yes.
Okay. So this isn't like D&D. Oh, there's 2 of them now.
Oh, hey! Why'd you do that for? Yeah, when they're that little, they don't do any damage.
Oh, okay. Turn that little after I There is a dog down here now.
There is a
Anyway,
dog, yeah.
Yeah, so I had just Kirihime left, and the boss still had 200,000 hit points. So I was like, oh well, I guess this is over. I've got Kirihime with 1,000 hit points, so I guess I'll just go out in a blaze of glory. And I did. Somehow, despite not having very many crit stars, she got a lucky crit and somehow managed to wipe out all 200,000 of the opponent's hit points in a single turn.
Just pure dumb luck.
It's a 3-star berserker. So the one thing that I will thank the one thing that I will thank the First Emperor for is giving my waifu a chance to shine. I did not expect to get through that fight, but I got through it through sheer fluke. But there's no real advice that I could give to anybody doing this fight on how to do it without getting frustrated. It seems to be purely a function of your luck, so I'm sure Ari will breeze through it.
And I have Dante's.
Yeah, I think that Dante's will just be because the only thing that really matters is putting out sheer numbers and doing them quickly, plus Dante's is an Avenger. I think that Dante's Skadi setup is actually a very strong one for this fight, provided that you don't end up, provided that you've got a backup plan when you've wiped off the first couple of break bars and he's still got a couple 100,000 left, and you have a back line that can finish the job.
There's a Disney movie that has a song for my backup plan.
Okay.
With the Glad in Gladiator.
Oh, right. Yeah. that might work. That might work. There's a lot of gutses there. But yeah, it's a pretty cruddy final boss fight. It's just, boring RNG is what it is.
Your dog trying to swim.
You can presumably come up with team comps that will beat him, but ultimately most people aren't able to build any given team comp that a person would name. Like the bulk of people will not be able to do it. So having a particular team comp work is not actually very comforting in a lot of ways. So yeah, I didn't like the boss. Unfortunately, the other main boss is a berserker, so any fight against a berserker boss always ends up being an RNG fest. The only advantage being that at least when it's a berserker, you can end the fight quickly. But not so much for a ruler. You don't have quite so many options.
No.
But yeah, so I'm through that Lost Belt. The next one is the one referred to by fans as Bollywood Dragon Ball Z.
That actually sounds kind of awesome. And by awesome, I mean really silly.
Yes. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes. But yeah, that's Lost Belt 3 out of the way. It was not too bad.
Yeah, at least the story sounded kind of interesting. Or possibly could have been if it wasn't for the seriously cynical outlook.
Yeah, it's suffering from the unfortunate fact of the Ura Butcher.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
he usually he doesn't have the option to do what he normally does at the end of stories to offset his nihilism, where he usually ends it on a hopeful note, even if everything has gone bad for everybody.
Well, the thing is that everything goes bad for everybody in the Lost Belts as a rule. That's sort of what makes them Lost Belts.
Yeah, but because of the way the Lost Belts work, he doesn't have that option.
Yeah, because everybody dies is just the way it goes. That's the only story to be told, is that everybody dies.
Your dog's drowning, by the way, Fern.
It's alright, he'll get better.
What, is that how drowning works?
Mm.
But yeah, so I did enjoy it. It was relatively well realized. I think it's a little bit philosophically confused, but I think that that's basically down to the failing of the moderns as a people to have any sort of coherent philosophy of existence. That's the sort of thing that just leads to nihilism, because ultimately, Ura Butcher posits very nihilistic points of view in his work generally, such as, like in this case, the reason that Chaldea gets to lead the true proper human history is because they have the sort of Nietzschean will to power to do so, and that's basically the long and short of his philosophy, which is not really very encouraging in a lot of ways. So yeah. Anyway, that was a thing. I presume that we're going to have a short break now in events in FGO, while most people finish the Lost Belts, and then we will be in Christmas season. I think.
Yes.
It'll be officially Christmas.
When things get ridiculous.
It will be Pedoru season all over again.
Oh no. Alright. And speaking of breaks, we should probably take one.
Yep, here's some music, folks. I will continue fishing. I've already got 2 magic books. We'll be right back after some tunes.
tease me now, but just one glimpse will never be enough for a tiny chance. Would I throw it all away? 'Cause only one thing ever matters. I cannot deny my true calling deep inside. I don't have the time for a silver medal prize. I can't let it die. My true calling lives inside. I'm not
And we're back.
Yes, we are.
Yes, indeed.
I was a little fast on that one, but them's the break.
That's okay. I got
So-
there in time.
So Volacel was on his week and talking about the Lost Belts. And just finished that part, I think.
Yep, I'm done with that part. I suppose we're getting toward the end of the anime season, and it was a bad one,
It
generally
was a
speaking.
very
Sure.
dull one.
There are still a few bits and pieces here and there that I haven't had time to check out, but might, and so maybe I'll be able to find something. But mostly, it was just not a great season, and there's not really anything to be done about that.
Let me just pop up next season and see what's coming up.
I'm not sure I even want to know.
Let's see. That would be winter 2021.
Remember when Fern used to be like, Animu, what's that?
Was that a thing? I don't know.
Oh,
if it
there's
was
a new season of Slime Time coming up. There's also the finale season for Attack on Titan.
Yep, looking forward to that, actually.
Yep.
There's another season of ReZero.
There is, or it's either another season or a continuation of that season.
ReZero's a weird series.
It is.
There's potential in ReZero. It's just the dialogue is written so bad.
Yep.
I think that's its biggest problem.
It's just badly written. Cool idea, badly written.
I don't even know if the world's badly written because I get distracted by how robotic the dialogue is.
Yeah, I think it's that the people don't feel like people. They feel like mouthpieces for particular points of view. But there's the new season of Log Horizon, although I'm not quite sure how much more of that story there is. Because I don't know how much there is in Japanese. I've got most of the books that are translated to English, but there was a point where the author got done for tax evasion, so he had to stop writing for a while.
Whoops. I mean, I'd like to see more Log Horizon. It's a cool world. And it's not Sword Art Online.
I don't see very much else here.
There's Beastars for those who enjoyed that.
There's,
I forget that's a thing until some libtard mentions it to me.
Yep.
there's more cells at work.
There is more Cells at Work. There's actually some cool stuff coming up this next season then. It's all
Cells at Work-
sequels. Like, I'm seeing nothing particularly interesting that's new. But, yeah, there's a lot of continuations of good stuff.
I'm not feeling very inspired by most of what I'm looking at here.
Yeah, I want more Bungo Stray Dogs.
Not if it's going to be a super deformed piece of garbage.
It looks like it's, Bungo Stray Dogs except chibi.
Yeah, how about no?
Yeah, how about no? It kind of underlines the entire point of it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it had quite high production values.
Mm.
It was a pretty decent show in some ways, but I don't love the characters enough to care about the chibified version of it. Also,
Yeah.
it has sort of a what is I'm going to describe as an incest plotline. Well, this is basically there's a brother and sister character who are way too into each other.
Japan, stab.
Yeah, like why? Why are they doing this? Why must this be the way that things are?
Japan, let me tell you something. You don't want to become the Alabama of the East.
Just stop. Stop now.
We
While you
already
still
have.
can.
Alabama on an East Coast. We don't need it on the Eastern Hemisphere, please.
How
There's
does Alabama feel about this stereotype?
Well, based on their Google search trends, not that bad, I would guess.
Oh dear.
That's somehow more information than I ever wanted.
Yeah, there's only so much degeneracy to go around.
Hey, when you're from Georgia, you have to make fun of Alabama. It's like bred into you.
It's just the thing.
This seems like you're punching down at the only guy who's lower on the totem pole than you. It's like if there were no Alabama, everybody would be mocking Georgia for being inbred.
Like
It
when it comes to Southern stereotypes, there's one state that's more Southern than Georgia, and that's Alabama.
Yeah. All right. So like I said, there's a bunch of cool continuations of anime. I'm just wondering, actually, with that Slime Time continuation, are they actually going to finish that trilogy? Oh, hey, a village.
That
Like-
trilogy.
Yeah, like they've got that extra trilogy where with the exam for the school kids.
Oh, they already finished that.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Huh, I missed it.
The ending was a bit of an anticlimax,
Of course it
but
was.
it does have it is somewhat related to the upcoming storylines.
I see.
It's not a necessary to watch relationship, but it's sort of like a foretaste, as it were.
Okay, I'll keep an eye out. I'll have to go back and have another. I can't words. Have another look.
All right.
All right,
Well,
where were we?
No, I don't have anything else to talk about. It was an exhausting week for me, which was mainly filled with work.
And China.
China.
China. All righty. I guess we'll jump into my week then. So my week at work was mostly Thanksgiving catch-up. Like, a unhealthy amount of time was spent playing. I'm gonna sneeze.
Bless you.
was spent playing catch up with all the work that didn't come in over Thanksgiving. So this was frustrating, but not unexpected. So I was well prepared for it. So it didn't actually jump my butt as hard as it could have. So I'm thankful for that. We mentioned I had to debug the Minecraft server because of the spawn point. That was very confusing for part of one evening. That happened. And yeah, it's been obviously because I live in the US and also everything seems to be happening in my state and my county. It's been a very political week.
Yeah, Georgia seems to be right in the middle of everything right now.
It's not just Georgia, it's my freaking county.
Yeah.
It's like, this is my home.
Yeah.
Now, the good news is the people that ran everything in my home are so stupid, they got caught.
On video, no less.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I have been in an incredibly wackadoodle headspace. On the one hand, I am incredibly angry because it happened where I live. And it just, even though there's not anything realistic I could have done about it at the time, it still is really frustrating that it happened where I live. This is my home. This is not supposed to happen here.
But it did.
But it did. So, I actually think it happened in the county over, but I live so close to it, it doesn't matter. So there's also that. But there's also, they're so stupid they got caught. And that's good news. So it's
Caught
been
in a very
fair...
obvious way, too.
Yeah, caught on camera. And I've been spending most of the week, and this is a fairly, I should not be a controversial point, that you can't debunk something and say it's been debunked if it's the first time anybody's seen it, you idiots.
Hang on, what?
So, the video that came out proving that my town cheated, after they sent the poll watchers home, immediately at the hearing it was shown at, had some crazy girl going, oh, but it's been debunked. It's been debunked. This has all been debunked in court.
If it's new evidence, then no, it hasn't.
Well, and it's even funnier because it's debunked people have totally ignored the fact that none of the hearings have been able to get to evidentiary hearings
I see.
because the judges are playing dirty games and throwing out the cases on jurisdiction and standing. So we've been chain appealing. We knew this would happen and we've been stuck in it, but they're like, that means it's debunked. No, we didn't even get to show the evidence. You idiots. So that's been about as far on this show that I'll take the political side. We're going to try to do a political show this week to go into more detail on that.
Is the show going to be debunked?
Well, that might be the title of the show.
Debunked?
Pre-booked.
Pre-booked.
Because apparently you can pre-book stuff now.
Welcome to the internet. It's ruled by twits.
It's ruled by Twitch. I agree.
Twits. But, yeah, close enough.
So yeah. That's something y'all can look forward to as my brief little do-to-do.
Do-do-do-do-do.
So, other than that, what did I do? I talked about Attack on Titan last week, and I haven't watched any anime or anything really. I just need to be in a very specific mood to watch anything now, is what I found. I derive less and less enjoyment from actually just watching stuff on TV or on my computer monitor. And it's been a very sad feeling, but I don't really know what to do about it.
I can't really think of the last time I actively sat down and watched any TV shows. Like, I can do stuff with a show on the other screen, but just sitting down and dedicating my full attention to a TV show, I just can't do it anymore.
Yeah, it just drives me nuts.
Partly because there's nothing worth watching.
Yeah, is that a dolphin?
Yes. Yes, it would be.
Huh. I need to find a string. There's one. But yeah. What else? Oh, okay, so games I played. I have had Tokyo Xanadu EX Plus sitting on my PS4 for months now. And I have been pestered to play this by Ibu nonstop.
You seem to be weak versus Ebu pestering.
Well, he's the only one that's awake during daytime. So if I talk to somebody in daytime, it's probably going to be Ibu. So yeah, I finally booted up Tokyo Xanadu EX Plus. Hi, Dolphin. This game is the definition of a game made on less than a shoestring budget.
Okay.
It is made with the Cold Steel 2 engine, with most of the Cold Steel 2 interface, with all the same mechanics as Cold Steel 2, down to quartz being renamed to elements, and having to unlock slots to upgrade it for your characters.
It's totally unique.
Yeah. So the difference is this is an action game in the Cold Steel 2 engine.
That sounds like it would be a terrible idea.
So it is more competent than you would expect it to be given that limitation, but it's still an action game in the Cold Steel 2 engine. So a lot of it relies on using a dodge that has invulnerability frames that are that go forever to not take damage. And the way they make it difficult is everything just basically one-shots you.
Oh.
But your dodge is so good, that doesn't matter.
I see.
So you just have to do it perfect, but doing it perfect is not that
Just
low
have
of
to
a
be
bar.
perfect.
That is not as high of a bar as you would think when I say that, because the game's dodge button is so good. So, yeah. It takes place in modern day, and you can tell this was a Vita game because the opening cutscene is a shot under an underpass where a bunch of cars are driving by.
Like a real life underpass?
Yeah, like in modern day.
Okay.
And the cars' wheels do not spin. In fact, the cars have no animation on them at all. They are just a 3D object that is being told to move forward as if they're ice skating at a very steady rate across the underpass.
Oh,
Wow, that's
no.
like PS1 era.
Yeah, it's clearly a Vita port. All the characters have very limited animations outside of a very few cutscenes so far that have gone out of their way to make it so that the characters actually animate. And usually it's in their introduction cutscene or in a big fight scene. But if it's not one of those two things, the characters all have their stock animations from just Cold Steel. And what's hilarious is all the character models are recycled from Cold Steel and given new clothes.
Oh, dear.
So all their animations are exactly the same. The body types are all the same. Their faces may be slightly different, but you can tell, oh, that's the fat body type from Cold Steel 2. And then Toa's just there as Toa.
No explanation. She's just there.
She has a different last name, and she teaches in modern high school instead of in Cold Steel High School. But just Toa.
Right.
And she's like your older cousin or something. So
Not even
that's a thing.
trying at that point.
So I'm not sure what's going on. The story is there are dungeons that are appearing that are in a parallel world to ours that the protagonist and his buddies can go into. And they access it by, of course, using a smartphone app to cause the gate to open. And they can go beat the dungeon and beat up the boss at the end, and the dungeon becomes safe.
To what end? Why bother?
Because the dungeons are sucking people into them and people are going missing. And they're causing destabilization of reality in the areas where they appear and causing really wackadoodle things to happen. Like
And
making...
The dungeon maker just released a smartphone app for access.
So I don't know what the big mysteries are that's going on, but they play it off as though it's a big conspiracy when it first starts, and we got to keep it on the down low. And we got to erase the memories of the normies with the flashy light on the phone. We got to go all Men in Black and shiz. And then you find out half the town is in on the conspiracy because they can sell you stuff. Like as soon as you're brought into the fold, they're like, "Oh, you got a weapon, so you can go explode those things now." Oh yeah, the blacksmith, the phone shop where you upgrade your phone.
That episode of The Simpsons where Homer joins the Stonecutters.
Yeah, and everybody's a stonecutter.
Yeah, he was the only one in town who wasn't already a member.
Yes.
Yeah, so the staff at Star Camera, the iPhone or the Xiphone, I'm sorry, upgrade place is it's actually called the Xiphone. They're all in on it. Who else is all in on it? The guy at the pharmacy is making potions and testing them on himself, and he sells them to you.
That's safe.
Yeah, that's safe. Like half the teachers in the school are in on it. Like, it's kind of ridiculous how many people in this town are just in on the conspiracy that they play up as, oh, it's such a secret, we gotta erase people's memories of it whenever we can. But no. Like, literally everybody knows about it. I'm pretty sure there's less people that don't know about it.
So it sounds like they're just rather crap at keeping secrets.
Yes. Or they just, I guess exploring these things needs a whole network and infrastructure to set up the organizations to do so. And you
Maybe
got,
they needed a little bit of excitement in their lives.
and of course you got the two dueling organizations that are trying to investigate the Eclipse Gates and figure out what's going on inside, and their names are the incredibly not edgy at all Nemesis and Zodiac. This is the most chuny story I bumped into. In a long time,
Unbelievably so.
in case you couldn't tell. But it's genuinely pretty fun going through the story and seeing how just over the top it is with everything while still playing it with a perfectly straight face the whole time. So it's been an interesting go through. I'm not very far yet, but they also in the PS4 version they add extra chapters to justify re-releasing the game. So every single chapter has a side story at the end of it that is about half the length of a normal chapter, where you control a side character and go through the game as them and get insight into the story either way earlier than you're supposed to, or stuff that apparently wasn't in the original game. So that's neat. And they have really OP abilities, and you can go through the dungeons and get nice loot in one-time dungeons. And the main gimmick of the game when you're doing dungeons is did I just get clay? I got a bowl.
Yeah, probably.
Okay. You get weird stuff when you're fishing in this game.
Yes.
But yeah, it's the main gimmick is to go through the dungeon as fast as you can. Although that's not necessary, you can totally miss the timing and still get a S rank in the dungeon. It's very generous with the point system so that you can S rank dungeons. You need to not take damage until you get to the boss. Damage taken during a boss fight, thankfully, does not count towards lowering your ranking. You need to break all the breakable objects, not just treasure chests. You have to break everything that can be broken, and you get a 100% broken object bonus. And then you have elemental kills. So you wind up with a party of people, but you only control one at a time and can actively switch which one is your active one. And you take up to 3 people into a dungeon at a time. And they each have an assigned element with the protag able to swap his because he's special in the protag. Although he can't do it until like chapter 4. So, and you need to kill enemies a certain percentage. I think 60% of the enemies have to be killed with an element they're weak to get the element weakness bonus, which is the majority of your points. So you're encouraged to learn and play all of the characters. And bosses usually don't have a weakness. They usually have void as an element, which just has no weaknesses or strengths.
It's kind of boring.
It means you have to actually learn the boss fight.
Fair
You
enough.
can't just stagger it with crits that it's weak to. So if an enemy's weak, if you use an attack that an enemy's weak against, they take double damage and your crit rate's doubled against that enemy. And if you crit them, they get staggered. So you're encouraged to abuse the crit system to make sure no normal enemies can ever get an attack off because they all hit really, really hard. And yeah, it's a very interesting take. My favorite part about the game is the arcade, which is just a collection of mini games that are so ripped straight out of Cold Steel. We have Demon Prince Reen Fishing, where you go to an arcade machine and you take control of Reen in the Cold Steel universe and go fishing for arcade coins.
I see.
They are just literally loading the same maps from Cold Steel that were, I guess they just left on the disc, and the same fishing spot that was in Cold Steel. And they're even loading Reen into it. He just has this different costume on. They have the Cold Steel 1 Mishi Bop minigame, where you run around with a giant hammer and have to whack the Mishis.
Yeah.
And they had the Cold Steel 1 and 2 card game with progressively harder opponents as the story goes on.
Yeah.
So yeah, and there's bonding events with bonding points to get your affection with dudes up, so you can waifu everybody.
Because you got to have them waifus.
You gotta have them waifu. But yeah, it's just a cheap negative budget. Even the enemies in the dungeons are ripped out of Cold Steel. Like you'll wander around the dungeon and be like, I saw that slime in Cold Steel.
Was
Like,
this just a little side project some members of the team threw together, maybe?
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
They just wanted a 8-month break from Cold Steel,
Yep.
so they just took all the assets they had, wrote a different story, and then put it all together in a different game.
Okay. That's not so bad then.
Yeah, this was meant to be a budget game. It wasn't even released at full price. But for given that, I think they did a fairly good job. So yeah.
They obviously didn't spend much time on the writing.
Well, what's funny is the individual character beats and story beats so far have been better than Cold Steel by a lot, because they don't have the Cold Steel problem of we need to spin this out into 4 games so the characters can't be this strong yet, so somebody strong has to come save them anytime they get in real doo-doo.
I see.
So the protagonists actually have to figure out how to deal with the problem if it comes up. We can't have, Mr. Arcade come in and duel McBurn to the death for us. And then they both come out okay because nobody dies in this series.
Of course I don't.
That was the joke until the end of Cold Steel 3. Nobody dies in this series.
Yeah. So that suddenly gets dropped on your head. Spoilers, by the way.
Well, it had to happen eventually, otherwise the story would have no impact.
Yeah.
I'm also partially lying to you.
Mm.
So yeah. That was an interesting game to poke my head in. I put about 6 hours into it.
That's not bad.
It's a fairly short game from what I can tell. It's probably about 25 hour stops.
But
And
can
there's,
you recommend it? Or do you
I don't-
need to already be a fan of Cold Steel in order to find it funny? Or
So a lot of the jokes require you to have played the Trails game.
Okay.
At least the cross series jokes. So you'll miss a lot of references. Like there is Magical Girl Elisa, who is my canon waifu from Cold Steel, is just the only anime that exists in this universe. And it's just Elisa in a magical girl outfit with big old giant, those funny sunglasses that people wear at the beach sometimes.
That's not where I thought you were going to go there for a moment.
I am a member of Team Gawain, but I'm not that big a member.
I don't believe you.
That sounds like a
But,
lie, sir.
No, that would be Emma. So yeah, I fully expect every video game and anime trope to pop up at some point. I expect a hot spring episode,
Yep,
and,
beach episode. Has to be
beach
there.
episode. I expect unlockable swimsuits for all the girls, and I expect the game will continue to rise to the universe is going to be destroyed unless we kill God with the power of friendship.
Again.
Again.
It doesn't
yeah,
reach
like-
a point where it's just, oh, okay, again.
Yeah. Ooh, an enchanted fishing rod.
Neat. What enchantment does it have on it?
In Unbreaking 3, Lure 2, and Mending.
That's not bad.
What does Mending do?
From memory, I think it recovers health over time? I think.
Well, we'll close
Yeah,
the
double
door.
check now. Let's see.
So, yeah. Check that for me. So, to Vol's question, do I recommend it? I don't know.
A lot of use you are.
It's going to take more time. This is the ever-present preliminary load that I give to every game that I play, it seems like, where I genuinely don't know.
Okay, I seem to be getting chain creeped here while I'm trying to look at the wiki.
Okay, I'll look it up after this. But yeah, I want to put more time into it as a good sign. So I am enjoying what is there for what it is, but I do have the kind of accepting knowledge in my head that this was made as a side project by a company that I generally like. So take that as you will right now. I'll give you a more complete view on it next week or the week after.
Yeah. Here we are. Mending enchantment repairs the item as you pick up experience orbs.
Uh,
I wish I had one of those.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's on a fishing pole. How does one acquire experience orbs? I need a hoe.
You need to murder a thing or break a rock. Basically, do anything and you'll get experience orbs.
Okay, so get a hoe.
Well, it's got to be particular rocks, doesn't it?
Nah, ores. I think you get a small amount from just breaking stone, but yeah, primarily ores.
I see.
So,
So
yeah.
yes. So yeah, that's Tokyo Xanadu.
Yeah, sounds all right.
Does
I
it?
have heard-
I'm not really sure.
I mean,
Uh,
for
It's a
a
bit creepy
little,
to me, to be honest.
for a silly little side project, it sounds actually fairly decent.
What's lapis lazuli?
It's blue.
Is that all it does?
Yeah, it's just blue.
Decorative.
Use it to make dyes primarily, and I think you use it for enchanting tables primarily, plus alchemy.
Okay, Fern, I harvested all your crap and I'm putting it in the chest.
Okay, just don't replant it.
Yeah. How do I do that?
Seeds go in the dirt.
What if I broke the dirt?
What do you mean you broke the dirt?
What if I broke the dirt?
Then you need to fix the dirt.
How do I fix the dirt?
Hit it with a hoe.
That broke the dirt.
You got to right click it.
Oh. Hit it with the other side of the hoe.
Yes.
I see.
So,
I'm now imagining Watame sitting there with the hoe backwards and trying to hammer the ground.
yeah. Which Vein Miner or Lumberjack mods were actually part of the core game.
So,
Anyway.
so yeah, that's Tokyo Xanadu.
Yeah.
And that was the main game I put free time into this week. I just didn't have a lot of free time.
It's been that
like,
sort of
even-
week for all of us, I think.
Well, yeah, and I had Thanksgiving catch up to do. So
Yeah. That's what you get
So
for having a
that's,
big holiday right before Christmas.
yeah, so that was a bit of an issue. And then we had what else did we have? We had oh, I see. Why can I not hoe the dirt down to wet dirt?
If the dirt's tilled, you can only till it once. You just need to wait for the water to spread to it if it's within range.
Oh, okay.
You can still plane on it without an issue.
Oh, okay. So yeah. What else? What else did I do? I played a bit of Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelist Legacy on Steam because this week, as I mentioned before, my hometown made me very, very angry.
Yes.
And I just really did just want something comforting. That's the whole logic behind it.
That's
There's nothing special here. No great thunks about why I should play Yu-Gi-Mons. Just I needed something comfy.
Yeah, I did.
Something I was with.
I'll admit I enjoyed my time back when we did play a bit of Duelist Legacy because it was like Yu-Gi-Oh! Except without all the nonsense.
That was Duel Links.
That was
different.
Duel Links. Yes. Which is
Duelist
also on
Legacy-
Steam, by the way.
Yeah. Duelist Legacy is different in that there are two versions of the game out right now, and one of them was on super, super deep discount because it's out of date, and I don't want to play Modern Yu-Gi-Oh!
Because of all the nonsense.
Because of Master Rule 4.
And what is that rule?
You can no longer special summon as many monsters as your hand is capable of making from the extra deck. You instead have to create a link monster through a new method called link summoning, which requires monsters already on the field. And then those link monsters have arrows that point to monster slots on either you, your opponent, or both sides of the field that become unlocked for special summoning.
I'm
This is
confused.
Retarded rule because it breaks every single deck that existed before it was released.
Well, yeah, all your old cards won't have the arrows on it, for one, if you're going to use a physical version for it.
Well, the theory is you can splash link monsters just into your extra deck generically. That's
Yeah.
fine in theory.
Given how Yu-Gi-Oh! Decks tend to work, that doesn't sound very coherent to me.
Now,
No.
especially since they limited the extra deck to 15 cards, that doesn't work. You need the entire toolbox to have a competent deck. And it just is not a fun way to play. I don't like it. I hate everything about it. So, pre-Master Rule 4 is the only Yu-Gi-Oh! That I will probably ever play, because Master Rule 4 is just a garbage game format, and nobody likes it. The amount of Dark Arm Dragon reversion tournaments, where everybody goes back to Phantom Darkness as the latest pack that's been released, and only plays with cards from then and older, is ridiculously high. Like, that's how much people hate Master Rule 4.
Yeesh. Is there any hope of
So-
it getting reverted at any point?
They will have to undo it with another Master Rule change.
Master Rule 5,
but yeah,
it's worse.
so yeah. I think that we're up to Master Rule 5, but it didn't undo the link thing.
Yeesh.
So yeah, Master Rule 3 was Pendulum Monsters. Nobody liked those, but they were tolerable because they didn't interfere with old decks. Master Rule 4 was Link Monsters, and that broke everything. So nobody
the
plays
game.
Master Rule 5. Yeah. So the good news is that Duelist Legacy 2016 and all its DLC was on sale for $20. And it is the full game. You play through the story modes of everything up until Link Monsters were introduced. And they do not have Master Rule 4 at all. And they had the entire story mode for every single Yu-Gi-Oh! Series that's existed, where you play every single duel.
Okay, that's kind of cool. It's also a
Yeah.
lot of duels.
Yeah, it is. So the story mode's really long with a bunch of opponents, and you can play every single one backwards. I fished another fishing rod. But yeah, I've been enjoying poking at it a little bit. I don't imagine I'll put much time into it. It was mostly an impulse purchase for comfort food.
Yeah. Sometimes you just need that.
Yeah, it's been bad. I've been not in a, I won't say a bad headspace, but not a consistent headspace for the past several weeks.
Yeah, you just seem to be lapsing randomly into hysterics based on my my chat feed.
Yeah, it's not good.
No, definitely not good.
So
Just enjoy
yeah.
more Hachima while she's still there.
Well, she left. The Hachima arc ended or the Australia arc ended. We got our conclusion to it. She's going back to Japan.
Oh, okay. She didn't fly
She
off to the moon or something.
She might miss Japan and wind up on the moon. That's possible. It would be very Hachima.
Yes.
So that's interesting there.
Did
And the rest-
Australia not do mercy flights or something?
I'm
They-
not sure on that. Some of them they did. But, yeah, I think it was just a whole lot of arguing back and forth between who takes what people.
That and Hachima was studying abroad in Australia. She was still in high school before Hololive had the 18+ requirement.
Right.
And she could not leave and come back and still manage school at the same time.
Yeah, so she was got stuck.
Yeah. So she got stuck. Ooh, that was loud.
That was a thump.
Yeah, I bumped my desk by accident. But yeah, I've been watching a lot of VTubers because I just need something happy in my life right now.
Yeah.
It really is concerning how much I'm just like, give me anything happy. I'll take literally anything.
This is what happens when you read too much news. You know what you're feeling now? What you're feeling is that way I feel every time the Pope says anything. So at least the election will be over one day.
Yeah.
So,
So-
will the Pope, I suppose. We get a new one.
One can only hope.
Yeah, but then we get a new election in 4 more years and we get to do it all again.
Yay!
Potatoes. I'm gonna
Eat
eat a potato.
potatoes.
We
Potatoes
have
don't have seeds, you just cram those back in the dirt.
well, I'm eating them to get me some health back.
We'll cook them first.
We can cook potatoes. Okay. I have 50 cooked cod sitting in the tackle box. If y'all need food.
I don't need food, I need iron. I'm using way more iron than I'm getting back
I need to go hide in a hole again.
by a ratio of like 50 to 1.
Load. But yeah, just a whole lot of trying to stay sane during what's everything going on. And it's hard, man. It's really, really hard. I just want it to be over. Alrighty. I think that's pretty much everything that I got. I really didn't do too much of substance, like I said. It was mostly working, fretting about my state of the world, and trying to stay sane.
Normally, people say you should unplug in situations like that.
But that seems irresponsible some way. I know that doesn't make any dang sense, but that's exactly what it feels like. So yeah, I think that about covers everything I've done that I can think of. I feel like I'm forgetting something from last week, but I cannot for the life of me remember what the heck it was. It's in my brain and it's rattling around, but I might remember it later. We'll see.
Alright, we'll see what happens. How about we jump into a bit of news?
Yeah.
What have we got? I didn't see anything all week. So,
Yeah, it's been another spotty week because we're in the pre-Christmas doldrums. We're going to have a big string of launches starting probably later this week. But for
Yep.
now, one minor thing I'm going to get slightly salty about. first before we go. And this is one I actually dug up during the show, and that is Microsoft has announced their next wave of Game Pass games that they're putting out. So for those who haven't done it, it's you pay like $5 a month and you get access to these games for as long as you want. The list is Control, Doom Eternal, Haven, Rage 2. Nobody wants Rage. Apparently that's on Android though. Slime Rancher, Valhalla, Bartender, Yes Your Grace, Dragon Quest XI S, which actually I'm really impressed to see there because they still want top dollar for it.
Yeah.
And just when it was about due to have the price drop down, then they released the next version.
No. They've removed the old version, haven't they?
Yes,
Yeah,
the original version's gone now.
All digital listings of the old version are gone, and that, of course, means the price of physical copies is going to stay the same.
Yes.
Because it's
You
becoming
can't get 'em. Seriously,
becoming
Square Enix, cut this nonsense out.
They wouldn't be Square Enix if they weren't as evil as this.
Yeah. Anyway,
Square-
continuing on, you also get Call of the Sea, Monster Sanctuary, Starbound, Unto the End, Assetto Corsa, Gang Beasts. Here's what I'm salty about: Greedfall.
So,
Yeah.
this is making things hard to justify to stay with Sony, because while Sony has a couple of decent exclusives on their PS5, the Game Pass value seems really high from what you listed.
It is. Those are the games, or most of the games anyway. There's also the sequel to Super Hot and one more, which was Discord.
Okay. So
no.
most of the,
Gears 5, I
okay.
think.
So from the games you listed, most of those are at least decent to good quality games. A couple of them are really good.
Yeah.
And they're all free for $5 a month.
Yeah, like, for what you're getting in here, I've got a few recommendations. Control is rather good.
Control is
RE
the
anyway.
Foundation, the video game.
Yep. Dragon Age 11 is apparently rather good for people who like that. Starbound I will give a glowing recommendation to.
I made a Fluffalo farm in that game.
I know, right? Slime Rancher, it's all your poo farming needs in one game. Doom Eternal, it's great for the single player. Well, great-ish.
See Ari's diatribes many shows ago.
Yes. So, the thing with Game Pass compared to PlayStation Plus is PlayStation Plus will give you 2 games a month. And it's like, you claim them now, they're on your account forever, but if you miss them, they're gone. You don't get them. Whereas Game Pass, it's like, okay, we're adding these to the library. Come and get them whenever you want. They're not.
I presume that Sony are going to have to, eventually come to the party and do something which can compete with that. But
yeah, let me.
The thing is that Sony have a history of what can only be described as complete and total retardation. So I'm not really sure exactly how you get to that point where they're, behaving rationally.
Yeah. Let me fire up the library. I'm just going to go through here and find a good few picks. Like, just to highlight it. Forza 4's in there if you like that sort of thing. The Age of Empires Definitive Editions are all in there. Ark, if you really want Ark. Fallout 76.
My knowledge of art comes exclusively from Fern, Coco,
and that one time you tortured Volacel the Dodo on a beach.
Well, we didn't torture him. We just kind of didn't feed him.
Yeah, he just died. Subnautica, there's a really good one. Metro Exodus. I'm just skimming down and picking titles at random. Outer Worlds is also on there. Yakuza Like a Dragon is... No, it's not on the pass. Damn. That would have actually been a really good find.
Yeah, it's still very new, so it's not gonna...
Yeah.
Like, last month new, at least.
Yep. So, Kingdom Come Deliverance, the base edition... Oh, it's not on the pass. It used to be on the pass. Crackdown 3, also there. Surviving Mars, sometimes. So you've got all these games plus the discounts, and so there's just no contest between which one is the better service between Game Pass and PlayStation Plus.
Yeah, this is classic competition doing what competition is supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
At the
Meanwhile,
end of
yeah, the selections for PlayStation Plus for December are Horizon Zero Dawn,
Mhm.
which everybody already has.
I don't.
Well, if those who want it have it.
That's
Wreckfest and Stranded Deep. And that's it.
Yeah, I think they're going to have to rethink that, but it won't be anytime soon. And the reason I don't think it will be anytime soon is because Sony are basically caning Microsoft in the console sales.
Yeah,
Yeah.
apparently
It's not even funny. They're getting Microsoft are getting completely demolished.
Yeah, the Series X has kind of bombed by the sound of it.
Not bombed, but it hasn't done what they hoped it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, at least compared to the PS5 anyway. And that just is because Sony came out so hard and Microsoft screwed up so bad with the previous gen.
They really did.
It was Microsoft did a lot to rectify it as time went on, but they just fell so hard on their face at the start. There's no way that could work out for them.
Yeah, I do think that it's going to be Sony's turn to screw up this generation though. And while they're off to a strong start, like as we're discussing with this whole live service issue, they are so far behind the curve in terms of what I can only refer to as generosity, I suppose, that they are just going to end up looking bad ultimately because they're so stingy. Like, it's all going to depend on, though, what the shape of the market is. Like, is the market such that people are running out of games to play at a rate that they need to be replenished at the rate that Microsoft does, or not?
Yeah. Or does Microsoft have enough games with enough draw power to circumvent that are going on this pass? And it sounds like they might actually have that. Some of these games are really good.
Could be.
But yeah. You got anything else on that one?
Yeah, I do think it's a strange way that this generation has launched, though. It's not what I expected. I did not expect Sony to do as well as they are doing, and it doesn't make a lot of sense to me that they're doing as well as they're doing.
Mhm.
I can't really make sense of it. They don't. It doesn't seem to me like they've done anything to deserve it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, they more kind of piggybacked off Microsoft's failures rather than their own successes.
Yeah. It's
So, just
Ugh,
throwing that
I
out
don't-
there, Game Pass is continuing to be great. I'm just salty because I only paid for Greedfall last week. And I'm already outside of Steam's refund window.
yeah. Like, I'm not keen to get the Game Pass, but not because there's anything wrong with the Game Pass so much as I don't think that I have the time to make use of that sort of thing.
There's just so much content there, and it's so great. And on the other hand, I've got to give a minor salute to the Epic Store as well, because they come out with free games every month, and those are for free accounts. You just go in and claim them.
But then you've got to install it on your.
You
yeah,
do,
sure.
and it
But
does
that-
advertise
that's-
Fortnite to you every time you fire it up.
That's the value argument, though, right?
Yeah.
That once it's on your machine, then they can advertise as much as they want to you. That's the whole point.
Yes. So for my process for it is once every couple of weeks I'll open it up, I'll claim the free games, and then I will remove it again. I don't delete it, but I just tell it to not open on Windows launch, and that's usually enough to keep it out of the way.
I don't want that crud all over my computer. No thanks.
So, quick Minecraft question, Fern. I have a enchanted fishing rod with like no durability on it that I fished out of the water.
Yes.
And then I have a normal fishing rod. If I rub the two together, will the enchants move with it?
I can't remember. Try it.
Do you know how good this fishing rod is?
You do have the preview window, remember?
Yeah, but it just looks like a normal fishing rod without
Then no, it
enchant.
doesn't.
Okay.
Yeah, you might have to use an anvil to repair it in that case.
Can you make me an anvil, Fern?
Do you have a crap ton of iron?
How much
I
is
have any iron. I'm so
let me
annoyed.
think.
Does iron just not appear in the lower levels of the stratum or something? Because
It does.
why can't I find any?
I don't know.
Hang on, I've got.
Have you
13.
been down to my mine shaft? Have you seen how much space I've carved out down here?
I have, and it looks very bare. I'm not sure what the
This-
game's throwing at you there.
There is nothing but stone down here.
All right.
Okay, I have 12 iron.
Yep. Next news article, go.
Okay, so we'll do a funny one.
Oh, I like that.
So this one's funny one is, remember back in the first generation of Pokemon cards, that when they were really, really popular, like when everybody had them.
Back when everybody wanted a first edition Charizard.
I have one.
It was first edition Charizard or nothing.
Yeah, it's in the desk. I would take a picture of it if I can find which drawer it's in. I'm not gonna dig through it right now. But yeah, I keep it in my desk in a little plastic case. So, yeah, there was a Kadabra card
Oh yes, I remember this.
in the first Jungle set, and some illusionist sued the crap out of Nintendo over this thing.
Because it has
And
spoons.
Yeah, and so his name was Geller, something Geller.
It wasn't Uri Geller, was that? Isn't he
Yeah,
dead?
yeah, it was. It was Uri Geller.
And no, he's not.
Huh. Still
So-
alive, huh?
He had this lawsuit going for over 20 years and kept refiling it slightly different worded to keep Nintendo from ever using Kadabra. So you'll notice the Abra line has not had many prints, and if they do, it's been an EX version of Alakazam because he claimed Kadabra specifically.
But Alakazam has spoons.
Alexander
Yes,
has a
two.
spoon, singular.
Yeah, well, because Kadabra has spoon singular, and that's the one he was offended by. So the Kadabra card had to get banned from the game because of this lawsuit, and could not be reprinted. Well,
Yeah.
he finally dropped the lawsuit. The grifter finally gave up.
Yay.
I am truly sorry for what I did 20 years ago, Geller said. Kids and grown-ups, I am releasing the ban. It's now all up to Nintendo to bring my Kadabra Pokemon card back. You notice the phrasing here. My Kadabra card.
Yeah. You're not
It's
truly sorry
crispy.
when you're phrasing it like that.
He
Yeah.
added,
So cringe.
it will probably be one of the rarest cards now. Much energy and love to all.
I wonder if he's sitting on a basement full of them.
That's unspeakably cringe.
You know, it would be
Yes.
hilarious if he ran this lawsuit to make this card rare so we can resell it, drop the lawsuit so it can be legally distributed again, and then they immediately reprint dozens of the cards so it's not worth anything anymore.
If he was playing the long con, then yeah, that'd be hilarious.
I would love it. So yeah, that's the short funny story this week. I
Just,
thought that was
I do remember hearing about that back in the day, but I can't believe it's actually still going
yeah. He kept the ban up.
Cringe.
for 20 freaking years.
So I just want to point out, it looks like the Kadabra in said card is flipping the dude off.
That's appropriate.
So yeah, I don't know the exact specificities of the Kadabra card and why it was successfully litigated, but it was really, really dumb.
Is it just the quantity of spoon?
It could be because Alakazam was not affected.
Alakazam has 2 spoons. Mega Alakazam has 8 spoons.
Wow.
That's a lot of spoons.
So, yeah, no idea what the heck actually caused this to happen, but there you go.
It was dumb, And it still continues to be dumb.
and it's hilarious.
Yeah.
Okay, now to more cringy news. Well, we can do the decent news first.
All right.
So we have a firm release date on PSO2 Episode 6.
Yay.
It
And
will
it's-
be out
It is
on
soon.
Wednesday,
Yes.
December 9th.
And
It will have,
is this new for Japan or catches us up to Japan exactly?
it catches. This is the episode Japan is on, but they have finished the episode. We are starting with it, so
So
It
we're still
will-
a little bit behind.
but all of the mechanics for getting the in-game weapons will be implemented now, so you can begin working on them.
Don't worry, they'll be changed in the next patch.
So features: new story, the last story episode, obviously. Player level cap raised to 95. New player class: Phantom and Etoli.
Yep.
Etoil. How
A
the
toil? I don't know.
It looks,
I'm gonna call it,
to me.
yeah, I'm gonna call it Estelle. New class: Phantom. New summoner pets: Irby and Vulcan. New urgent quests. New quest type: risk exploration. Don't have a clue what that is. Arm extension. I don't know what that is either.
That's weird.
New quest difficulty: ultra hard. New arcs missions. New rising weapons badge. So we get rising weapon badge 5.
Yep.
That's the catch up mechanic. New enemy type: Lunamech and ultra enemies. New seasonal events. New mission pass season. Oh, it's a given. Of course, there's one every month. Exciting new titles to earn. I like how they put exciting new titles to earn. in
Titles
that.
are never
You don't
exciting.
need to tell me that I'm excited.
I have my gambling one with SP Card Showdown Meow for winning big in blackjack, which is one of the rarest ones in the game. So I can't ever take that one off, so that doesn't matter to me.
Stealing your fish.
Additional recommended quest, level up quest for leveling up lower classes, I guess. New collection folders for 15-star weapons. New bonus quest, special mission Tokyo Rainbow. I have no idea.
Rainbow? Okay.
New practice quests for all the new classes. And for the AIS.
Everybody hates the AIS though.
But now you can practice.
But
You
why
can
would
practice
you?
being the thing that you hate so very much and wish didn't exist in the game.
Yes.
So we have new S-grade augments, and old S-grade augments that were previously untransferable will be transferable. We have new 15-star weapons at Zig's shop, new 13-star units at Zig's shop. 13-star units can have S-class augments now applied to them from basically all the previous seasons.
Okay.
And so that's what we're getting. And it looks pretty good.
It
And
does.
the
There's a
important
lot of stuff.
Not mentioned in this list. New outfits.
There
There's always new outfits.
are always new outfits.
The game exists because of new outfits.
I might have dumped another $50 into the game to buy more outfits.
Oh dear. All right. So I'm going to look forward to that. I'm going to come back and have a bit of a play because I'm not sure if there's any actual new content planned for Japan before the release of the
I don't think
the
there is.
overhaul expansion.
I do not think there is. I think they're focusing on PSO22.
Yeah. 2.5, whatever it is.
I like PSO22 TUTU
Because you
Like
get to
there
say
is.
22.
because I get to say 22.
Minor note of cringe. There is a sequel to the Sonic movie in the works.
Well, I heard the first one wasn't that bad.
Yeah,
I've gotta
as,
watch
as
it.
these things go,
As far as video game movies go, it was apparently quite good.
it was the highest grossing superhero movie of 2020.
And that hurts. Yeah.
Sand to Hedgehog
They
and make it come back.
I'll give them credit, they earned a lot